are some people who are saying, you know, we really ought to end this primary. We just ought to shut it down. And
that was Hillary Clinton on Friday pushing back as Senator Patrick Leahy and other Democrats say she should quit the race now for the good of the party. And it's time now for our Sunday group. Brit Hume, Washington managing editor of Fox News. Jill Zuckman of the Chicago Tribune. And Fox News contributors Bill Kristol of the Weekly Standard and Juan Williams from National Public Radio. Well, Hillary Clinton not only rejected calls for her to drop out, she's also using it to rally her base among women voters. And take a look at what she told the New York Times. According to the Times, Mrs. Clinton told aides that she would not be bullied out of the race. In a conversation with two Democratic allies, she compared the situation to the big boys trying to bully a woman. Britt, do calls for Clinton to drop out accomplish anything, and what are the chances it'll in fact backfire?
I think there's a good chance it'll backfire. There's no good reason for her to drop out of this race. It's still close. It's likely she will end up with fewer delegates at the end of the voting process, 4 delegates, than Obama has. But the Democratic Party established a system which has all these superdelegates who were there to exercise independent judgment. That's why they have them. After all, this all started when the Democrats went to so democratic a system that the party elders came to worry after a while that it might lead to the nomination of a couple of Lulus who would get swamped in the general election. So they instituted superdelegates to exercise judgment. Now Hillary Clinton's depending on that, and everybody's saying, "Oh no, not fair. Shouldn't do that. Have to overrule them. Have to overrule the elected delegates or the elected delegate count. Would be a terrible thing." She has every right to stay in. Now it might blow the party apart if the superdelegates did that, but this is the system the Democrats established. I don't know why she shouldn't be able to run her race in it.
Jill, what do you think of the calls? And there were increasing calls for Clinton to drop out, and also this fascinating interview she gave the Washington Post today. And excuse me, the Post admitted she called them. They didn't call her. You know, these poor reporters being rousted out of their bed in the middle of the night to say, I'm staying in it. I'm staying in it until we get the Michigan and Florida delegations seated. And if it means going all the way to the convention, so be it.
She's got to put this issue to rest. She cannot keep talking day after day about whether she should be in or out of the race. She needs to be talking about the issues, the economy, why she's the better candidate, why she has more experience. And so this has been going on for a solid week now, that people have been discussing whether she can do this. And to me, it's completely different from when Mitt Romney had to decide whether to keep going on in the Republican race. I mean, at that point, it was mathematically impossible for him to ever overtake John McCain. And he sat down with his advisors, he came to that conclusion, and he got out of the race. But for Senator Clinton, as Britt says, you've got these superdelegates. That's the wild card. So there is no reason that she can look at it the way Mitt Romney did and say, oh, all is over.
Bill, the underlying issue here, and I discussed it with Tennessee Governor Bredesen a couple of moments ago, is how much damage is this prolonged campaign doing to the campaign if they both stay in it? And take a look at a Gallup poll this week that showed 28% of Clinton supporters would vote for McCain if Obama is the Democratic nominee. 19% of Obama supporters would vote for McCain if Clinton were the nominee. Question, are these candidates doing lasting damage to each other?
Not yet. Incidentally, would those 28% or the Clinton supporters be happier or more likely to go to McCain or less likely if she's forced out of the race by a cabal of Democratic insiders ganging up on her in a totally unjust and sexist way? I'm really with Hillary on this. No, it's ridiculous, these calls for her.
You're just stoking up, though.
She should go through the final votes on June 3rd. She should insist that Michigan and Florida be seated. It's a disgrace that those fine Democrats in those 2 states aren't going to be represented. She should go to the Credentials Committee. She should go to the floor of the convention. And incidentally, why should she give up at the convention? That's an arbitrary deadline, too, you know? Keep on going.
Third-party candidacy.
Exactly. No, look, the truth is, you know, she could win she could be ahead in the popular vote on June 3rd on the total vote cast. She could catch up to Obama. She needs to win Pennsylvania big, and then she needs to win North Carolina and Indiana on May 6th. I think if she loses one of those states, it's pretty much over. Then the pressure will get immense. But if she can win the primaries going out from now in, It's tough for her to win the nomination, but I think she'll stay in, and I think she's right to. And honestly, from the point of view of the Democratic Party, it would be worse if she were forced out. If you're a Clinton supporter, if you think she's the better candidate, are you more or less likely to defect if you feel she's had a good, fair chance, the whole thing was fought out, everyone got to vote in every state, or if she somehow got pressured out?
Well, you know, the problem is when you have every day someone being called a liar, a Judas, a McCarthyite, and it goes back and forth. Somebody's a racist, somebody's a sexist. When you have people referring back to blue dresses and all that, it at some point then begins to depress the idealism that fueled the tremendous rate of funding for the Democrats in this race and the tremendous turnout, which is the huge advantage. There's a tremendous difference in the enthusiasm for the Democrats versus enthusiasm for the Republicans going forward.
So what are you saying? Democracy is messy?
It's very messy, and I think the fear on the part of party elders here is not just Clinton-Obama, but what it does to the rest of the ticket. This is Phil Bredeson's real point, that the rest of the ticket down the road would somehow be damaged then if you had a Democrat up there who wasn't in position to make the strong case against John McCain.
Meanwhile, both candidates continue to have their problems, some would say self-inflicted. Video finally emerged